Hey beautiful, I hope you're well today. If you've been drawn to listen to this, it probably means that we are talking the same language, and it is about leaving the relationship. And first up, I just want to say thank you for being open to listen. Leaving relationships is really, really challenging. It's never easy. It's so much more fun starting a relationship than it is ending one. Let's be honest about that. All the hope, all the optimism, all the love, you only see the best. And when we're at the back end of it, it is the complete opposite. It is not pleasant. So I'm sending you my love today, wherever you are in the world. So first up, I left my ex-husband 2 years ago. Best decision that I ever made. In fact, all the relationships that I have left, and I left those, best decisions that I ever made, hands down. And in hindsight, I wish I had have left them a lot earlier. In hindsight, I wish that I had have learnt the skills and been the person that I am now, because I never would have entered into those relationships. And that is the point. That's the point, guys. It's not about the relationship. It's not about the other person. It's actually about you. And I really want you to understand that this is your journey. Take back your power and your responsibility for your journey. Put yourself back in your driver's seat, please. The other person, they have their own journey. And when two souls merge in an experience, which is a relationship, it's about learning and growing. And sometimes we learn together and we grow together, and sometimes we grow apart. And that's because we have learnt what we need to learn, and that's perfectly okay. Why would you stay in a situation that is becoming toxic or non-serving and limiting you? That isn't going to make you happy, and it isn't going to make the other person happy either. And this is about raising your perspective up to the highest good of all people. And if both parties aren't getting what they need and what they want and being fulfilled out of a relationship, eventually it will turn sour. That is also truth as well. And whilst you may think that it's going okay and you're managing it, you've just adapted to it and it's become your new normal. And what's happened is your vibration has dropped, and so has your partner's. And you're just feeding off that rather than feeding, being at a higher level. And you will know that for a fact. So today, as I said, I want to talk about the process of leaving. And let's really be honest, truth bomb number one is you don't wake up one morning and go, bang, I'm out. You don't. We leave in stages. And this may be a process of 12 months. It may even be 2 years. But bit by bit, you start to leave that relationship. And if you're in this situation, you already know that. Some of the signs that you're leaving is you just don't care about the same things that you did anymore. Being around that person certainly doesn't feel like how it felt in the beginning. And the other thing too is, so one of the tests that I used, and it's really, really quite powerful, when I was struggling to make the final decision, even though I knew what my truth was, I was still on the fence. And when you're on the fence in limbo, it's really challenging as well, because you're still sitting there going, can I save this? Can I have this life that I imagined? You're still attached into the dream of what you signed up for. And then there's the reality of what it actually is, and they're not marrying up. And you're still probably a little bit in the camp of, can I actually bring the reality? Can I bring that up to the dream? And that's what causes us to stay longer, because we don't want to let go of the dream. Just remember that this is your dream, and it's your soul's dream, in your heart, and it doesn't necessarily have to attach to a particular person. You can have that dream with someone else. Also, remember or be aware that these dreams, some of them, or things that we want, some of them are actually attached to old versions of us, old timelines, as you like. And as we start to grow and evolve, the things that we once had held great value for us and that became part of our identity, having this, being a wife, being a mother, having a family, etc., being in a relationship, become no longer serving. They're no longer relevant because we've outgrown that, and that's okay. You're not a bad person for doing that. There's nothing wrong. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, which is grow and evolve. So don't allow yourself to feel guilty about that, or anyone else to make you feel guilty for you honoring your soul truth and you actually growing. The question needs to be asked is why the other person isn't growing, okay? And that is also on them, not for you to answer, but just something to consider. Own your power, own your journey, and you are the only one that can actually own your journey, no one else. And for many of us, this is actually the lesson about empowerment, empowering ourselves to honor our truth, to actually be the person that we came here to be, whatever that actually is. And it may be that the life that you built, that you thought that you wanted, that you thought was going to bring you happiness and satisfaction and fulfillment, you've got that, and it's still not working. And that's because we were blinded by societal programs around roles and responsibilities and what it's perceived to be happy and successful. And you've got it, and it's not actually working. And so this is about a case of you deprogramming that and coming back to self. So, next one. As I said, I'm diverged on that one, which I do a lot, Next one. Okay, if you're struggling to make the decision, if you're still in limbo, one of the things that my guides showed me or got me to do was to go, okay, you've got a month left to live. You've got 6 weeks left to live on this planet. And after that, just imagine you've got 6 weeks left. And then you're going to die. How do you want to spend those 6 weeks? What do you want to do with those 6 weeks? And who do you want to spend your time with? Picture you spending those last 6 weeks on Earth with your partner. How does that feel? Your feelings do not lie. Your mind will try and tell you all sorts of scenarios and get you going around on loops and expectation, obligation. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. But this particular scenario where you've got 6 weeks or you've got 4 weeks left to live, who do you want to spend it with and how do you want to spend it? Really cuts through all of that stuff. And if you're feeling that, no, it's not going to bring me happiness to spend that time with my partner, I don't want to do that, then that in itself should tell you what you need to know. At the very least, it should tell you that there's a lot of work that needs to be done and that you guys aren't aligned and that person isn't bringing you joy. So therefore, once again, there's a gap there. The other one on that was take some time out for yourself. How do you feel? And also, this is the other thing too. How do you feel when you're with your partner versus not with your partner in the physical vicinity? Your body doesn't lie. It knows the truth. It's trying to tell you that. Pay attention to it. For me personally, as I got closer and closer and closer to making that decision, it was really uncomfortable being around my former partners. Really, really, really challenging to be around them because it was like a physical reaction that I did not want to be there. And I was tired, I was irritated. Being in there and being near them was really, really hard work. Really hard work. I would have preferred to have gone and done literally anything else than have spent time with them. That's truth. It's not that they were bad people. It was just they were not aligned and I was done. And I want to make that clear. I was done. It was done. I just needed to get that through. And it doesn't lie. So listen to yourself. You know the truth. The other thing that I wanted to mention, during the course of leaving, I did a lot of self-reflection. So I did a lot of journaling that helped me actually make sense of what was going on and help me get clear on my truth versus other people's projected truths about my life and other people's expectations. And it also, and I did a lot of work around the lessons that I learned out of those relationships prior to leaving. So what those people were trying to teach me about myself. And the number one thing that I got out of it that I needed to work on, and obviously, and I did work on significantly in the 6 months prior to leaving, was self-love. Because I can categorically tell you now that there is no way that I would ever entertain any of those 3 individuals ever again. And I would never entertain a relationship, any of those relationships in any of their forms, ever again. They would not even get remotely near my energy field now. And for me, obviously, I was a very, very disempowered empath. I wanted to give, I believed, or I was very much about the external life and that validating me. And so I had to completely undo all of that and come back to myself. And I didn't really value who I was, because trust me, if I did actually value who I was, once again, I never would have entertained those relationships. And they would have been absolutely non-aligned right from the get-go. So self-love is, and this is the thing, if you have left a relationship, particularly if there's some narcissism issues in there, you will probably be a bit gun-shy about getting into another relationship, and rightly so, and that's okay. My number one tip for you is spend time getting to know yourself, loving yourself, and trusting yourself. That is the only way that you will not attract the same again. And it is a surefire method to make sure that you actually attract what you deserve. When you know who you are and you love who you are, you will not compromise that for anyone. And nor should you. Nor should you. If you want a great life, which you deserve, then do the work. Do the work to connect with yourself. It's not selfish. It's not selfish at all. And by the way, you will save yourself a lot of pain and suffering, and other people a lot of drama, trauma, karma, etc. By actually nailing this, by nailing the self-love piece. And you will attract in that which you deserve, which actually sees you for who you are and values you. And the other point of it is, when you love yourself, you will not tolerate stuff that is less than what you are. There won't be any indecision. And it just won't happen. And that's where you want to be. Really rock solid in that. So I worked on self-love a lot on the 6 months prior to leaving, and that helped me actually move through that. And also my sacredness. coming back to my sacred self and really appreciating who I actually was and that I am sacred. You are sacred, and we shouldn't be doing stuff that we don't want to do out of expectation, obligation, because essentially we're lying and we're giving away our power. And this was the other thing that I really worked out in that last relationship was about owning my power. I choose. I chose to go into that relationship. I chose to entertain that relationship. I chose to invest in that relationship. And there were warning signs. There's always warning signs. There's always red flags, right? And I chose to bypass those. And it is only through, we can blame the other person as much as we want, and we can label them, but that we don't want to actually get into that, because then you move into victim mode of, oh, well, I'm a victim of a narcissist. Okay, where's your power in that? Obviously, you had an experience and it was really traumatic. And I've had experiences that were really traumatic. But I know that I willingly entered into that. And I learnt so much out of that about myself. And I am no one's victim. And neither are you. Why would you want to be a victim? Every time we make that statement, or even that we're a survivor, it's still that about that someone did something to us. Well, we participated in that. So let's own our power, yeah? Let's own our power and transcend out of that. You can't actually empower yourself at the same time that you're giving away your power to experiences or to other people, and inadvertently going, well, they were a narcissist, they manipulated me, they controlled me, they did all this. Well, they did do that, but you weren't connected. You didn't love yourself enough. You weren't standing in your power. And inadvertently, because you stayed there, you allowed that to happen. And it is only through when we accept that we allowed that to happen. And this isn't a guilt or a shame thing, by the way. This is for you to go, I do have power. And if I do have power and I made a choice to stay in that, I can make a choice to leave that. To help you move on and move through. To help you use your power to heal yourself and to make really, really aligned choices. You have rights. You have a right to a happy life. You have a right to beautiful, fulfilled relationships. But you aren't going to get them if you continue to invest in relationships that are non-aligned. And that are non-serving. And that aren't bringing you joy. Because you're not allowing the space for new people to come in. And also new people that are potentially at a higher vibration or more aligned to your soul aren't really going to want to be around that particular situation. And also you will be extremely disconnected from your soul if you're doing that stuff. Because every time you're doing stuff, actions or in relationships that are non-aligned to your soul, it's like a little piece of your soul just breaks off. And it becomes disconnected or fragmented. And that's when we really start to get into the ego and the shadow side starts to build, because we're coming from low vibration activities. And then we are in two minds about whether we leave or we stay, because we've actually empowered our shadow side rather than empowering our soul. And the shadow side will always, and our ego will always keep us in those particular loops. It will never free you out of that. And will never deliver you true joy and happiness. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. The other techniques that I used, so I did journaling, a lot of meditation. At that time, I was really working with my guide team, and some of the guides that I was working with, they were all pretty much heart-centered guides. So I was working with Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy and compassion. I was working with, who else was I working with? I was working with a lot of divine feminine guides to help me stand in my divine feminine power. I was working with Isis as well to do a lot of womb healing. When we're in non-aligned relationships, particularly sexual ones, there's a lot of trauma that's held. Trauma is naturally held in the womb anyway and in the heart. And so a lot of my guides were actually working on both of those areas to kind of clean them out and remind me of my sacredness, which you are also sacred as well. Your energy and your womb is sacred. And it needs to be honored and respected, and you have the capacity to make that happen by standing in your power and reinforcing the choices and the people that you're with. I was doing a lot of chakra meditation and cleansing at that stage, and a lot of energy clearing of myself, and a lot of energy protection around myself as well. It's when you're with someone, if they are narcissistic, they drain you. It just is how it is. So I was being drained significantly. So I was spending a lot of time doing cleansing and protection energy work, but to a point it was just plateauing because there was no point in it really. You keep letting the same person into your energy field. And it was on a daily, so it was kind of counterproductive. It was just trying to hold neutral, and even that was a struggle. The other thing too was I noticed, so then I called in, I did a lot of work with my guides, animal guides as well. I was fortunate enough to connect in with a bear animal spirit guide that helped me to find my courage, or to remind me of my courage. And it does take courage to leave these things, particularly the more invested and tied in you are. It can feel like your entire life is collapsing, and that your identity as you knew it is collapsing. And sometimes that's actually what we have to do. And it's like a massive leap of faith. So just know that you have the support. You actually do have the support to make the changes in your life if you need to do that. And things get a lot better. Things get a lot better. The other thing too was I found that I hadn't really told anyone. I'd become quite withdrawn in my personal life. I wasn't really telling anyone what was going on. And because I didn't know what was going on. And when I'd made the decision, I actually started telling people, and they weren't surprised. They kind of knew. And just by saying that, using my throat and communicating my truth, I knew when those words came out of my mouth that they were truth. I knew it. And it was quite liberating, actually. And it was very surprising, well, not really surprising, how quickly the universe responded to my request. It opened up and things happened very, very fast. And that's the other thing too. When you're in alignment, the universe will respond like that. It really will. If you're not in alignment, you're going to find that life is really, really challenging, and just not much happens. And it's because the universe is going, you're not in alignment with this person, this relationship, which is central to you and is now becoming part of your energy field, is not in alignment. And so therefore your ability to be able to manifest, to receive, To bring good things in just naturally closes up because your vibration isn't there and you're not aligned. And why would the universe do that? It's actually trying to shift you out of things that aren't aligned. So have a look at that. And as I said, the minute I made that decision, miracles happened, and instantly as well, which I am forever grateful for. And that happened with all of them, actually. Because, yeah, it's like they'd been waiting. It was already pre-set up. It was just for me to get on board. And this is the other important thing, guys. It was me in human form consciously going, yes, I pick myself. Yes, I pick my truth. Yes, I pick my happiness. And yes, I pick my soul. And the minute I did that, the universe went, yay, okay, now we can do all this fun stuff. But they'd already had it lined up because they knew, they were just waiting. And we are part of our own divine timing, by the way. So yeah, they were some of the things that I used to try and help me through that period. And then also, the last point I will say, when you leave a relationship, even if that person isn't aligned and even if it has disintegrated into toxicity, there's still a part of you that at one point loved that person. And you're grieving, and it does feel, it's a loss, and you're allowed to feel like that. So take the time to allow yourself to grieve. And some of the things that I used crystals to support me during this time. And I also used aromatherapy. I found aromatherapy was amazing for that. So lavender and rose geranium. Very calming on the central nervous system and the heart. Amazing for when you're grieving. May sound small, but honestly, when you're grieving and your heart's ripping out, sometimes the smallest things really do make a difference. And amethyst and rose quartz. And for those of you that may encounter this, you may get psychically attacked by your ex. Which is where you keep where it's like you're literally seeing them, you're thinking about them. That means there's still cords attached. They're still in your energy field, so you need to actually cut cords with them. It's really challenging to actually break out of a relationship while they're still in your energy field. So you need to cut them. You need to cancel out the soul contracts because otherwise you're still tied to them at a soul level. And if you are experiencing psychic attacks, please, the two best crystals for that, chevron amethyst and lapis. Amazing for that. The minute you put on a chevron amethyst, if you're getting psychically attacked and it's not yours, because it will feel like it's yours, but you're like, there's no logical reason for this, but it feels and sounds like yours. The minute you put that into your energy field, it will go. And that's how you know that it's not coming from you. And that's when you want to cut cords. And if you're not able to do that fully or you're too attached into that, sometimes you need additional external support to do that. There are plenty of people that can assist with this, and I am one of those, obviously. And just allow yourself. And the other thing too is forgiveness. Forgiveness of the other person and forgiveness of self. And this is about releasing the lessons. Our souls come together under mutual agreement to teach each other, to help shift and learn and evolve and get us to move and grow. When that relationship's done, we really actually want to take stock of, we want to release from a position of pure unconditional love. Because not everything was bad in that relationship. Obviously, you were in that for a reason, and they were in that for a reason. And so we want to actually release that from a position of gratitude for everything that we actually got out of that relationship, even if it's what you learnt about yourself. And maybe that was that you learnt that you're way stronger than you thought you were. Or maybe you realized that you need to speak your truth more. Or maybe it's you needed to realize to listen to your intuition and not allow other people to override your intuition, and your intuition is actually correct. That was a big one for me. A big one. Such a powerful lesson. And these lessons are designed to empower us, guys. Or it might be about self-love and the importance of loving yourself first and coming from a really solid base of self-love, so that and self-respect, and what that looks like and what that doesn't look like. All of these things generally come out of those kinds of relationships, and also the importance of actually following and honoring your truth and speaking that and living that. And that, and honesty, being honest with yourself and honest with the people around you. And yeah, so releasing that. And obviously, if you've been in a situation where you've had the ability to learn all of this stuff and get it and nail it, that's a great thing. That's a really powerful thing. And so we want to thank that person for their contribution in our journey, because that's what it is. Contribution in our journey. And we want to release them with gratitude for that. And thank yourself for being brave enough to undertake that experience as well, to learn about that, because ultimately it will make you a better, more empowered version of yourself. It will help you transcend out of weakness and giving away your power, and to value yourself more. Amazing lessons. And that's how we are able to forgive, because we forgive from that position of awareness, acceptance, and love and gratitude. And also we want to come from a position of compassion as well. You know, that person has got their own story going on. They've got their own wounds, trauma, lessons, issues, etc. And they come into just as we come into the relationship with our stuff, they come into the relationship with their stuff. And they do the best that they can most of the time. It's not our job to fix them. It's our job to accept them as they are. But accepting them as they are doesn't mean to say that we need to have them in our life and that they get to be in our energy field. We can accept them as they are and go, thank you and love you, but we're not continuing this anymore, because it's for the greatest good. And I really will reiterate that. Exiting non-serving relationships, toxic relationships, is always serving for the greatest good of all parties. So often we get lost in we're in the situation, so we can't access our higher perspective. And then this is one thing that, if you're thinking about this, I really want you to come back to your higher perspective. Move yourself out of the situation. Does it serve you? Does it serve them? If you've already started to move out of a relationship and you're not in love with that person, and you're really seeing a lot of things that are not aligned to you, and you don't want to go back into non-alignment, so you don't want to drop to meet them, then how does it serve? And if you're continuing to say, well, you need to change this, you need to be that, you need to do this, do they? Or do they have just a right to be who they are, regardless of what that is? Just as you have a right to be who you are. And that's acceptance. Who does it serve for one person to continue to ask the other to be something that they're not, or not capable of at this point in time? That's about acceptance. And it's also about acceptance that whilst you were aligned, now you're not aligned. And it is always much better serving to leave a relationship when it goes into non-alignment versus when it goes into toxic mode. A lot less damage. A lot less damage. So I hope that serves you well, guys, and sending you my love today. If you are going through this, I do understand how, challenging that is. And I can only speak from my own experience, having done this a few times now, leaving quite a few relationships. It gets better. And the only other thing I will add to that is your path to happiness and to better relationships starts and ends with the relationship you have with yourself. Knowing yourself, knowing what you like, respecting yourself, loving yourself, and trusting yourself. And if you do that, you will attract in beautiful people and beautiful relationships that are aligned to that. And you'll be way stronger than what you were before. Sending you my love today.